We'll see all sorts of interesting things. Okay, they put me on here. I'm just going to go over what happened as far as the settlement went, and I'll answer what questions I have as far as what I've been shared with by the attorney. But if there's legal questions, I'm not answering anything because I'm not an attorney. I can't interpret codes, anything like that.
You have some, is there another read?
Another. More copies of this? Yes. I don't, they were supposed to put some on it.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Just read me out.
He's still.
All right, so first part of the settlement was that
We came here. I know what I'm fixing to do. Maybe we just close these off because they're eating. Well, she's going to talk about it.
okay, number one of the settlement, the judge signed the order, and as far as what the attorney, I know the SID sent out something that showed the order, and there was some confusion. And I talked to Hutchinson, and what the order that signed was stating was that the settlement as presented at the hearing in front of the judge was accepted in full. So the sunset levy is that the SID has up to 5 years from the date that the order was signed to collect assessments. The SID itself is not, it doesn't have to dissolve, but they can only do the levy for 5 years.
Maybe you need to get this podium.
Sorry, that's okay. Okay, so the sunset clause is that the SID has up to 5 years that they can collect, that they can impose assessments on the properties. It doesn't mean they have to go a full 5 years, but that's the length of time they have. It's not stating that the SID has to dissolve, but at some point in time, with the inability to collect assessments, you're not going to be able to have any money for any types of continued maintenance. So, does anybody have a question on that I can see if I can answer? Okay.
My name is Jeremy Harris. I live at 102 Summer Ridge Lane. We have the Pirate Flag on the dock. The order that's dated March 7th says the SID can collect assessments, correct?
The order?
The order, right.
The order, the way the attorneys explained it to me, and that's all I can go by, is that the judge signed an order. The order was accepting the settlement as proposed at the hearing in full.
So the order that I've got right here that's dated March 7th actually establishes a couple of things. What it does is establishes a legal relationship between all the parties. And what it seems to say, what I think it says at the very end, when it goes to the conclusion of facts, is that the SID can collect whatever it wants to do, however long it wants to do, that they're in complete control over everything at this point. And this is an actual order that's published in the court right now. It's actually in writing.
So again, all I can say is, this is what I was told by Tim Hutchinson, the
So
attorney.
he's told you something.
It's
Okay.
not, it's different than what's in writing.
So what I'm saying is this exists in the public record right now, and it's dated like a week ago,
Okay,
and it's out there, and it's extremely interesting. You have seen a copy of it?
I see, well, I read through it, basics, and then I called him to say, what does this state?
Yeah, I mean, at the very end, this is where it gets to be fun, right there. So, it would seem to me that that sort of changes everything in the entire lawsuit, right? It's almost like a reset button. Do you agree?
I do. That's exactly how I read it. And I actually have reached out to Mr. Lyons. I reached out to Martha, and she's not been well, I understand. So I then reached out to Mr. Lyons myself. I sent his office an email, and I said, I do not see anywhere in the order that the judge signed off where it says anything about a settlement being accepted. I see findings of fact and conclusions of law. And the conclusions of law, I read it like you did, Jeremy, that the first part was, hey, this is what the SID is allowed to do. These are basically your bylaws. And then the last point was, and this is how you continue to fund yourself.
Essentially, the judge said that he doesn't feel that the SID would just run out of money. In other words, the entire purpose of the SID is to continue to collect these benefits, these assessments, so that the SID can survive and provide services to the community forever.
Well, and I guess I'm not going to interpret legalese because I'm just going by what Hutchinson said. So maybe the best thing to do at this point is to just stop this right here. I will actually email the question to Hutchinson to get specifics in writing from him to share with everyone. Because I'm going by his interpretation and that's what he told me, so that's my understanding of it.
I mean, that's not a judgment, that's just an order, which is, I think is different. I'm not a lawyer either, but.
Well, and that's what when I called him, because I was talking to Tom, and he pointed out that the order wasn't stating what the settlement actually
Correct,
said.
yeah,
So then I contacted Hutchinson, and Hutchinson, what he told me was, the order is the judge's finding that the settlement as a whole was accepted. So that's the information I'm going by, is what he told me as far as what the order meant. And I can see where it's confusing. So rather than try to figure it out myself, because I am not a lawyer, the best thing, I will get a hold of him. I'll email him tomorrow to get a written answer and explanation that everybody can understand.
There's two things also in the order I want to point out that are extremely interesting to me. One is, he states in the order that essentially anything that happened before the lawsuit was filed, any assessments that were paid were voluntary.
Oh, that was part of the hearing, yeah.
Okay, so that's in writing now that he's made that determination. That keeps anyone from getting any money back from the county. The second thing in there that I thought was interesting is he said that it's illegal for the county to continue to collect on behalf of the SID the assessment of benefits. In other words, because it's been paid off, they can't collect it anymore. So the SID, y'all need to think about a vehicle to get your money because the county can't do it anymore.
I would like to see if we could get, if Mr. Lyons was here for the beginning of this situation, I would like him here to be able to answer legal questions at the end of this situation. I'm not sure why we haven't set that up, but I would like to see if we could do that, because again, none of us are lawyers, and them saying, well, the interpretation is that the settlement has been agreed to, but if I'm not interpreting, if I'm just reading, it doesn't say anywhere in that order that the settlement is a done deal and has to be followed in any way. It doesn't say that in that order.
Well, then we need to get the attorney here, because both attorneys I know have said that as of the date that this order was signed, that is when the settlement as it was presented, the terms were in effect as of the 8th when it was signed.
And I understand that. And we have the settlement sitting over there, and the last page has place for the judge to sign off on it, and it's not signed, and I don't understand why, if that settlement was agreed to, why the judge would not have signed that actual settlement agreement.
Well, I mean, so then, I'll get a hold of Hutchinson, and as far as what everybody else does with Lyons, because if anybody wants to, before the end of the meeting or before they leave, write down specific questions that they would like him to answer, I will email them to him and then share it however I'm able to with everybody that's here or in the community. Because, again, all I can go by is what he told me when he contacted me, because he sent me an email on the date the judge signed this, and said the settlement as requested has been ordered. And then again, I called him after talking to Tom, and he said, well, his explanation to me was that the order is enforcing the terms of the settlement. So that's all I know. So if there's ambiguity in it, I don't know how to explain it, but I'll certainly get a
Well,
hold of
they're
it
actually at
to
odds.
find
I think
out.
they're actually at odds. If
Yeah,
that's the case, and they may be independent of each other, but they seem to be at odds, if that's the case.
Okay.
Is it being appealed also, the settlement?
I don't know that for a fact. It's been stated plenty of places on Facebook that it's gonna be appealed, because the one question that I have asked him, because, I mean, it's just a known fact that there are certain parties that are saying they're going to appeal it, is what happens if it's appealed? And if it were appealed, number one, it has to be, the appellate court has to agree to hear it and then make their decision. If there's a ruling for whatever reason that they're throwing it out, I don't know what you would call it specifically, then the choice is going to be either a trial or we can enter into another settlement talk.
Question for the board. Has the board ever gotten an interpretation from Lyons? What the settlement mean, I mean, what the order means?
That's
No.
a good question.
Nothing has been shared with us. I have not received from the board any information regarding the lawsuit whatsoever. I've heard through Facebook, through Deb's post on a residents-only page, that the settlement had been agreed to. Other than that, there's been no communication.
I had thought Lyons was
I'd like
contacted,
to
and
know
he had
why.
stated also the same thing that Hutchings.
Yeah, while we're trying to guess.
What I'm saying is that that hasn't been shared with me as a board member, anything from our attorney or from the chairman of the board or from any other commissioner on the board.
Okay,
So,
but
I mean, is there any reason the board has it? I mean, the settlement is vague. You guys should put it in its best terms. Is there any reason the board has not gone to their attorney to get his interpretation of it?
I don't think the person that you need to be asking that is here tonight. Because Marcia is the one who had the communication with Mr. Lyons, and she's not here, and she hasn't shared any communications that she's received from Mr. Lyons. She hasn't given any indication as to what, any feedback from him at all regarding the lawsuit. So I don't have an answer for you in sitting here.
I don't.
So the three of us are unaware of any communication from Mr. Lyons to the SID board about the lawsuit. That's all that we can say.
Okay, so is the board going to try to get a interpretation?
I said that I had reached out to Mr. Lyons via email. I did not receive anything back from his office. I don't know if he's authorized to discuss that with me or not, but I have not received anything back from my email to him.
so I will, like I said, if anybody has specific questions that they want answered, they can go ahead and write them down, and I will email Hutchinson and get back an answer to these questions and anything else anyone has, and then I'll go ahead and get back in touch with people personally or post it on Facebook, or I'll forward it to the office so that they can send out a group email to everyone with his specific answers.
Well, I'd like to ask a question. It's really a comment. So, as Jeremy was saying, and also Tom, there's ambiguity. I'm almost saying it right. There's unclarity. The order's not signed. So, I'm not suggesting there's any malfeasance. I'm suggesting that you don't really know. I mean, you just
Well,
said
I know
you
what I've been told by
Well,
Hutchinson as far as my
but
emails to
it's-
him. I've got
True.
his email. I've got his email. I could share with everyone, telling me that it's
Right.
been ordered and the
But
settlement's done.
what he's telling you is different in some areas than what's written. So my point is, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything, and then when we hear from the board, the 3 board members, not only do we not know, they've not had communication. So I'm just speaking as a concerned owner, that how are we supposed to know questions to ask you when they don't even know? And that's the board.
And I guess it's my bad too, because like Jeremy brought up, I read the order to, I am by no point an attorney, and that's why I hired an attorney. And I tried to find the best attorney I could. So when it comes to, I can read codes, I have my own interpretation, and I'll be 100% honest. The order itself, I didn't really read through it a lot, because at that point, I'd gone through all the other steps, the hearing. I got an email from Hutchinson stating the judge has signed off on the order, he's accepted the settlement as presented, and, you know, go ahead and move forward. And then when Tom contacted me and explained what he was reading, then I could understand that confusion. So at that point is when I called Hutchinson and said, you know, this is what's happening in this, and what he told me is, this was, at least this is my understanding, the order was the legalese that accepted the settlement as it was presented at the hearing, and all the items that were on the settlement it was accepted as a whole. So that's what I went by. And as far as beyond it, that was as far as I could go, was to talk to that attorney and get that answer. So again, I'll just get more specifics with your questions, and as far as what the board does with the Lions is a separate issue than mine.
But they're not doing any, that's my whole point. They're not doing anything with Lions, is that correct? Katie, did you just say you haven't, you've reached out to them? And the chair has not spoken to you all as a group. So do you see how?
Well, I can see that, but I'm just saying, for me, this is what I can do. And that's what I'll do. And as far as what the board does, that's a separate issue. As with the settlement itself, there's separate issues from what individuals can do and what the board can do. So that's what that's all I can do.
It would seem to me that the 2 attorneys need to get together and clarify what the settlement is.
Agreed.
The two attorneys,
Yeah.
Lions.
Well, yeah, and then like I said, I'll contact Hutchinson and,
Well, could we not have a meeting, a community meeting with the 2 of them? Is that inappropriate? So that they can see face to face, because I understand what you're saying. He's telling you this, that it doesn't really matter that it's stated on here. But we just need some assurance of what's going on. And
well, I would assume the 2 of them can talk. And I'm not trying to be rude
Oh,
at all.
no.
But I'm saying, I find it doubtful that if I ask Hutchinson everybody's questions and he gives me the legal reasoning of the whys and the whys nots, that he is actually probably at this point in time going to drive from Fayetteville here for a meeting. Whether or not they can get Lions to come here and go over it with the community is up to the board.
Is Lions local?
He's Jonesboro.
Yeah, maybe a better choice.
Because the 2 of them, I mean, they've had to communicate during this whole process anyway, so I'm sure they can do a phone conference, whatever they need to do, so they're assured that they're on the same page, so that one of them can come and present it to the community, or however they want to do it, written correspondence, come to a meeting, whatever it might be.
Thank you.
I'm done.
You know, I think you just turn the thing and just, yes, and then just push it. It's on the side, isn't it? The on button
Well,
on the
and
side.
how many
I mean, I know.
And I
are there any other
making sure
resident
that-
questions or concerns?
I know what I know, that's it.
I did want to let everybody know that the April Community Summit meeting has been changed to April 1st at 10 a.m. here in the clubhouse because the Women's Club is doing the Easter egg hunt on the 8th. So we've had to move our meeting up to April 1st at 10 a.m. here for the Community Summit meeting in April.
There's this clubhouse is being used April 1st. It is. Can't do it here. It's,
Hot diggity.
well, I'm just saying.
Well, is it you?
Yeah.
Well, you can invite us.
It's just me.
Right,
I'm just doing it.
It's all them.
Invite us. No, okay, so I'll figure something else out. God darn it, I was not aware since since the calendar isn't updated very, well.
Could we maybe tie it into the morning of the 23rd?
No, I'll look at, no, I don't want to do it that late. I want to do it before then. I'll figure something out.
Will you just bring this?
I think that, I mean,
Because I want to get.
Okay, for the audience, if you have questions, please state your name, because I'm really bad at names.
I've got a question. My name is Jeremy Harris, 102 Summit Ridge Lane. Regardless of whether or not the SID can exist forever, or whether or not it dissolves in 5 years, or whether or not it becomes a town or is annexed, I don't know how this works. This is all kind of new to me. But so does Marcia control everything as far as the decisions of the SID, or what is?
Marcia is the chairperson, so she collects everything and lets others know.
Do y'all vote? Do y'all have an equal say in the decisions of the SID, the three of you?
In a vote?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll ask you, I just want to know if I need to wait for her to come back or not, but have you guys considered an HOA?
I've considered an HOA.
Would the board be willing to listen to a proposal for an HOA?
Absolutely. I think that the board's going to be, okay, I'm going to say that the board needs to be open to any suggestions and all suggestions for the future of the acres. I think that the way that has to be done is that it has to be put on an agenda for us to be able to discuss it and to give whoever is presenting that their time. Is that correct, Lana? To be very honest, I am still asking the same questions I've been asking since I became a commissioner, and that is, what is the parliamentary procedures that we follow in a meeting? I have made photocopies. I've asked previous commissioners if they could look it over and tell me, what do? We don't follow all of these rules. I can already tell you that we don't do that. So could you tell me what we do follow and what we don't follow? I've gotten no feedback from that. So it's on the agenda again tonight because I'm still confused as to how we run our meetings properly, professionally, and efficiently. And so I don't, I'm not sure if I'm giving you the correct information about that, but I believe that you have to ask to be placed on the agenda. Right? Okay.
Okay. And I've not talked to any property owners at all about this, so I'm not speaking for anybody except for myself. The idea being that I live on the lake. We've had property here for 20 years. My kids grew up in that lake, and I love that lake, and I love Spring Lake, and I love the properties around here, and I don't know if the SID has got the resources to continue on to take care of this place. And I don't know if that means that an HOA needs to decouple from the SID and start its own funding campaign. If a private entity like an HOA can then get, as a nonprofit, can actually get funds from the county or the feds. I mean, I'm not sure if that's even possible, but I'll be talking to at least the guys, the folks that live on the lake about possibility.
Well, from my estimates, it'll take $65,000 to $70,000 a year.
To maintain the lake?
Maintain the lake and the parks. The lake is under a tremendous legal liability.
Because the dam.
Well, the state mandates that it meets the maximum tolerable flood. That maximum tolerable flood is 26 inches of rain in 24 hours and 6 inches in 1 hour and 45 minutes. The result of the flood will be a wall of water 300 feet wide, 4 feet high, going over top of the levee. All right, so the spillway is 100 feet, so it has to be widened to handle that flood, to meet the state criteria.
Unless the folks downstream of that dam get reclassified as non-hazardous?
Yes, you could do a study.
That's not going to happen, because what a high hazard dam means that you're going to inflict, if your dam fails, you're
Okay.
going to inflict more than $100,000 worth of damage. We're going to do that within the first 300 feet of that water going over the dam.
Yeah.
And the actual thing is that we end up 4 feet down at the wagon wheel flea market.
Right.
That would be 4 feet deep over that road. So we're definitely going to exceed $100,000 in damages. So that is why I was told we can't.
So you're saying it's expensive, I get it. So.
You can do a study and show that if the dam is breached, there's no loss of life downstream, where the water level does not get into the first floor of the houses. The state would consider changing it from a high to an intermediate. At an intermediate, you only need to build 65% of the spillway instead of 100. Then, under those conditions, it's doable to meet the standards.
Yeah, okay, so it's expensive to maintain the lake, okay, got it.
You're looking at $1 million.
$1 million to do what?
To probably get it into where you can meet the state standard.
I'm not talking about doing that right now.
I'm just giving you the conditions.
No, I'm just talking about the people that the people that live on the lake have a different interest in the lake being kept up than the people that don't live on the lake. And I'm not saying the people that don't live on the lake don't want the lake to be great, because I think they do too. But we've got property that's on the lake, and I think that having that lake be turned over to a municipality, like a city or a county, is probably not a good deal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying the same.
So,
Okay, there are several other options that I have been looking into, and I know that a couple of other people have also been looking into. There's fire protection districts that could take over maintaining the lake. There are municipal recreation improvement districts, which is called an MRID here in Arkansas. There's parks and recreations associations that can be given that responsibility of the ownership of the lake. There are several different options that are available. HOA, POA is another one. I think all of those need to be researched. I think all of those need to be looked into. And I think, Jeremy, you've got a really good point in lake property owners, unfortunately, need to consider that they have the most to lose. And I'm a lake property owner, okay? And I can't represent, I represent all of the residents when I'm sitting up here, okay? But I think someone definitely should represent lake property owners who have the most to lose if we lose our lakes, and give them a voice, because I think that's a really important voice that's not being heard right now, that needs to be heard.
let's see what else. Yeah, and also too, I don't think that the HOA or POA would actually be, I would see it coming alongside the SID and actually assisting as another arm of the community being able to support the people that live in this community. I don't see it as an adversarial type relationship at all. I just think that we may be able to do things. It seems like the SID is sort of the persona non grata. No one wants to touch it, and no one wants to help, and the government won't touch it, and the judges don't want to touch it.
Right.
So if there's a different organization, maybe we can help funnel money in a different way into the community and get outside the SID, but then also come alongside the SID to make sure that the neighborhood gets support. If this order actually stands and it makes sense, you've got the power to do whatever you want to do. You can make an assessment of $200 a month for every household in this area, like that. That's the way the order reads.
Right.
So, I mean, there are other ways we can raise money as well, but I'm not saying we do that. I'm just saying that there's a lot of moving pieces right now, and I'd be glad to take the lead on this and do some research and see. You know, $1 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying the to form a property owner association, something like that, it's a lot of liability.
Sure.
You're assuming you have to spread that out a massive number of people as possible.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And you can't just have for the 35 homes around the lake.
And the HOA up here, it could include all the houses in the acres, all of them. And maybe the people that don't live on the lake don't pay as much as the folks that do live on the lake.
Yeah.
You know, there's all kinds of ways to think about it.
Yeah, I just
but-
say that you have to work to the legal.
Absolutely.
I mean,
All right, that's it. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I get contact names for people who live on the lake? With the SID? Is that possible? Okay.
My name is Robin. I live on Mistletoe. I was going over the agenda, trying to understand what was going to be happening tonight, and I'm just wondering what we were going to discuss the plan and what the plan is. Is that like for evacuation in case there's a fire or something? I didn't understand what that was all about.
No, actually, I asked to have that put on there because I would like to know what the plan is. I would just like to know, what's the plan?
But I thought
The whole
you're
plan.
supposed to know.
That's basically pretty much what I was asking on there was, what is the plan? Do we have a plan? Do we want to make a plan? What's the plan?
Okay.
Can I say something? Okay, so I have to get more information to make sure we're on the legal page with the judge as far as what I'm understanding to be the settlement agreement as far as everything goes. And I'm just gonna flat out say, I know I have been rude, different things at meetings, but I think it's a different thing when a commissioner is sitting up there, meeting after meeting, calling people out, the plan, the this, the that. This is not good for us as a whole to get together and get anything fixed. And people calling out, we need people to join committees, do this, do that. When there's a lot of people sitting in this room that have participated for years that I've seen, and I'm getting upset. We're getting called out for not participating by current commissioners who haven't participated all the years I've lived here. So this isn't bringing us together, and it's tearing us apart. And there's people that don't agree with what Marcia does. There's people that don't agree with what you do or you do. But to do this publicly is disrespectful, childish, and we're not going to have a plan. We're going to have a fractured more community than we do right now. And that's just my feelings. Thank you.
Mr. Harris, do you want Spring Lake property owners as well?
I do, yeah. If you don't mind.
Deborah, can you tell them why you filed the lawsuit?
I filed the lawsuit because since the day I moved in here, the first week, I had a knock on my door with a resident who started telling me every problem that was here. And I started researching and learning and doing as much as I could personally over the course of years, everything I could find out about the assessments, all the different information. And it got to a point over the past year where it was very clear that things were coming to a head and there was going to be a lawsuit. And I, as a property owner who lives on the lake, X number of hours of our lives went into buying this house. And I talked to realtors, I talked to different people as far as if someone were to file a lawsuit and boom, we dissolved immediately, how it's going to affect property values. And it was not a pretty picture. So I made the decision to go ahead and contact Hutchinson, who has handled almost every illegal action case in this state in the past 10 years, and talk to him. And I know that there's so many people angry about this, And people want the SID dissolved yesterday, and they want it to last forever, and they want interest added, and they want their money back. And everybody's got, lots of people have a lot of different outlooks. I honestly did this as far as trying to get as much information as I could from people, but I was the voice, and I spent hours talking to Hutchinson, and the 5 years was what I, to the best of my ability, thought was a middle ground. That it gave the community time to come together, if that's ever possible here, very doubtful, but to actually form research committees, look into POAs, look into HOAs, look into annexing, but to give everybody time to get information in black and white and not just hearsay, so as a community, we could find what the best thing was to move forward with. So that was that.
Does anyone else have any questions or need to say anything?
I'm not really sure why me asking if we can come up with a plan is disrespectful. And as far as new commissioners who've never done anything, I came to a bunch of meetings when I first got here, and I pretty much was told to sit down and shut up. Okay? And then I was pretty much ignored until the SID commissioners needed another commissioner in a hurry, right now, because we're in a bad spot. We got somebody who's quitting tonight, and we need somebody to step up. And I said, okay, you know what? I will do that. And I've got nothing but grief about it since. Okay? I don't need to be here. I don't need to be doing this, but I'm doing it. And I'm putting in hours every week. I am researching so many different things, everything I can think of. All right? And all I get for it is grief. Why? Because I don't do it the way you think I should do it, or because I don't do it the way that you would do it? I'm doing it.
There's other people here doing things also. And you know what?
Awesome.
We're not all sitting here in a row lecturing you for the tone of voice, just even the tone of voice you use anymore in meetings. There's a lot of people doing a lot of things behind the scenes and trying to work, trying to do research because we all live here.
But behind the scenes stuff doesn't help any. It's got to all come together at some point.
There has to be a separation on some of these things from SID. You want to know why there's a lot of problems? Look at the writs going on. I don't think that really, if you talk to Lyons or an attorney, a lot of this information has to be found. Because if we're researching a town, it has nothing to do with all the property owners. You guys are representing all the property owners. If we're researching annexing, that's residents. I mean, there's different things. And Lord knows, look at Arkansas Court Connect and how many things are still hanging out there. You don't need any more reason to give people fuel for the fire because you're doing something that probably shouldn't be done as a board versus residents and property owners looking into this stuff. And I also, and I'm not just singling out you, and I don't want you to feel the way, but I don't think any of us who for years that we've lived here and have spent time doing research, going meetings, whether or not we're being gavelled or threatened to go out the door, I don't think we need to be lectured like we're children about joining groups or participating. Because look at, these people are here, we're participating. So calling people out here for not showing up at meetings or doing this or doing that is not the way to get this community together. And if you people and Marcia have problems, you know what? Solve them, have a working meeting and solve them, but don't turn every meeting into a fiasco because you know what? Most people that are watching the videos and that are coming to the meetings, that's what they think this is. Just a disjointed group, and why are we ever going to pay a penny of assessments more when people can't, as a group, just as a small group, get together and get anything moving forward?
You're correct. I think that was an actual excellent point. And I think that at this point, I will be leaving this evening. And when the board, including Marcia, who's not here, can come together and have a working meeting to clear up all of the old business that we have on here, to determine what our bylaws are that we're supposed to be following, what our responsibilities are that we're supposed to be following, all of the questions that have been asked for the last few months. When we can sit down and have that open meeting and make those decisions, then I think we can have our next community meeting. So are you quitting? No, I'm leaving this evening. Are you quitting,
walking
Susie?
So you're leaving
How is
before
that?
there's even a discussion
I'm
about getting a
leaving
true
before the meeting
quorum
is
on
called.
here?
I am leaving before the meeting is called to order. My report is on the table if anyone can.
She's Marcia's secretary.
Again, if you have any questions,
I got a lot of questions.
and I can send you Lexington, I will be glad to do it.
For well, technically the meeting's started.
I hadn't even started that.
Do you want me to send?
They can bring the third celebration on.
Since we don't have a forum, the meeting is adjourned.
Well, wait a minute. You, technically, you can install,
Listen to him before everybody leaves. Listen to Tom.
you can install Della now. So you can go, install her on and get your third member.
There.
Because that's what's happened in the past.
There's a lot of animosity right now, we need to work
It was
through that.
done before without a quorum. It says the board can install members.
I would feel better if we were able to work through the animosity of it, of whatever just happened, what went down, sit down like adults and talk about
It
it.
was not a close election. More than one.
Our JP says that we can go ahead and swear Dell in tonight.
We'll go get Della.
If everyone will be quiet, we're going to swear Dell in.
Okay, so, as most y'all probably know the JP's had a tree fall on him last week. Last day he can't be here. I'm just pleased Tommy S. is from the district five and authorized to administer office. So, we're going to swear in Ms. Katana. Repeat after me, raise your right hand. I do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Arkansas, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Commissioner, Ozark Acres Subdivision. Office of Commissioner, Improvement District, in and for the County of Sharp, on which I'm about to enter. Do that. Sign.
slow and just kind of so when you get three members, two of me, because they both get it's a fee. We mean so that's what it is.
For 6 months.
How are you guys doing? Other than wanting to put some vodka in there. Well, I've not had a good winter.
I have some keys for you. I told her, I said I felt so bad if she didn't want to get out because it's all nasty. She always asked me, "Am I dropping it off?"
I don't want to do a better job.
I know, right?
Just want to do a better job.
I have friends that still live in Minnesota, and they're like, "Okay, we're sick of snow." Yeah, that happens. They got a lot.
Oh, yes, they're going to be the person to say, go ahead and do it. Yeah, just me. And I go ahead and do it. Go ahead and ride.
Yeah, oh, yeah. The parking lot's like a Target and stuff. Yeah,
I've been around for that.